ChatGerry, Comparison of Viscoplastic Behavior Between Engineering and Medicine, number 1534, BP2087, February 13, 2026, Gerald C. EclaireMD Foundation, Category, Applications of Methodology. Why an engineer ended up studying his own body. I am 79 years old. I have survived 5 heart attacks, kidney failure, and a stroke. I am also an engineer trained at MIT for most of my life. Those two identities seemed unrelated. One belonged to classrooms, laboratories, and semiconductor companies. The other belonged to hospital beds and emergency rooms. But eventually I realized they were deeply connected. Engineering thinking did not just build bridges and computer chips. It helped me understand why my body was failing and how to slow that failure down. This is the history of that connection, and why it may matter for your health as well. A simple word with a powerful meaning, viscoplastic. There is one word you need to understand. Viscoplastic. It sounds complicated, but the idea is simple. Visco means time-dependent. Change happens gradually over time. Plastic means permanent. The material does not fully return to its original condition. Put them together and you get this. Viscoplastic means organ damage that builds slowly and cannot be completely undone. Engineers study this in steel beams, bridges, and aircraft structures. If stress continues long enough, materials deform permanently. They weaken. Eventually they fail. I realized the same principle applies inside the human body. How structures fail, and how bodies fail. Imagine a steel beam. You apply load. At first it bends slightly and springs back. That is healthy behavior. Engineers call it elastic response. But if you keep loading it, day after day, year after year, it begins to bend permanently. Microscopic cracks form. The structure stiffens. Its safety margin shrinks. One day, under a load that once would have been harmless, it collapses. That is exactly what happened in my stroke. Your body behaves the same way. High blood sugar, high blood pressure, poor sleep, chronic emotional stress. These are loads applied to your biological structure. At first your body compensates. That is biological elasticity. Blood vessels adjust, hormones rebalance, cells repair themselves. But over years and decades, compensation weakens, vessels stiffen, organs lose reserve capacity, damage accumulates quietly and invisibly. Then one day a heart attack, a stroke, kidney failure. It feels sudden, but it was not sudden. It was accumulated structural fatigue. That is viscoplastic failure in steel bridge, in human flesh. Why one office measurement is not enough. When an engineer evaluates a structure, one measurement is meaningless without history. What matters is cumulative loading over time. How much stress? How often? How fast did it rise? Were there sudden impact spikes? Yet in medicine, we often rely on a single snapshot, one blood pressure reading in a clinic. But what we truly need is a movie, not a photograph, because only a movie reveals the full story over time. That ongoing path is the trajectory. After my stroke, I began measuring my systolic blood pressure 20 to 24 times each day. Not just the average. The spikes. The rate of rise. The extremes. A sudden sharp spike in blood pressure acting on a stiffened vessel is like a hammer strike on a weakened beam. That is how rupture happens. That is what happened in my stroke on June 21, 2025. Trajectory matters. Pattern matters. History matters. Again. The body is not a photograph. It is a movie. Where the body is more complex than steel, there is one important difference. Steel does not heal itself. The human body can at least partially. In 2010, I changed my lifestyle. I reduced body weight, improved diet, increased walking, controlled glucose carefully. My blood sugar dropped. My kidney function stabilized. My cardiovascular events stopped. The system moved toward recovery. Some damage improved, but not all of it. Calcification in brain tissue remained. The microscopic injury from over 3 decades of diabetes had already altered the material itself. At the large scale, I improved. At microscopic level, permanent changes remained. This is the honest truth about chronic disease and mortality diseases. Early action is powerful. Late action is still valuable, but late action cannot fully erase long-term accumulated damage. What this means for you, if you live with diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, kidney problems, and stroke, or if you simply want to avoid them, here is the engineering lesson. Your body is not failing randomly. It follows structural logic. Stress accumulates. Damage Accumulates. Adaptation has limits. Instability has thresholds. Rapid spikes can trigger collapse in a system already weakened by years of loading. If you reduce daily stressors early, you reduce total accumulated energy in the system. If you control sudden spikes in blood sugar, in blood pressure, in emotional stress, you reduce the risk of catastrophic failure, such as stroke. You do not need to understand equations to understand this. You only need to understand that small daily choices compound over decades, and the body keeps a permanent record. Why I write this at 79, fame did not protect me, money did not protect me, status did not protect me. What helped me was discipline, observation, and the willingness to apply math, physics, and engineering logic to my own survival. I am not writing this for academic journals or medical conferences. I am not writing to impress medical doctors. I am writing for other patients and for the people who love them, for people who want to understand why their body is doing what it is doing and what they can still do about it. Engineering gave me the tools. Disease gave me urgency. My body became the laboratory. Time matters. Spikes matter. History matters. Every minute counts. That is why I keep writing. Disclaimer: I write this paper not for fame, but to share what I have learned so others can understand their health, prevent disease, and live longer, healthier lives. This content is provided for educational reference only and does not constitute medical advice. No doctor-patient relationship is created. You may share this summary freely, but it must not be altered, edited, or republished as your own. All intellectual property rights and copyrights for this article and its related materials belong to the author, Gerald C. This content is provided for educational reference only and does not constitute medical advice. No doctor-patient relationship is created. You may share this summary freely, but it must not be altered, edited, or republished as your own. All intellectual property rights and copyrights for this article and its related materials belong to the author, Gerald C.